Hello! How is everyone doing today? I hope my setup is working. I've still got my music playing, but no one can hear it. I was trying to mute it for myself too. Okay, that should be good. Stream elements? Yeah, I guess it does. Apparently. I think it's because I've hooked up OBS. Anywho, how's everyone doing today? Oof. Quite an early reaction from me, but I must admit I like it earlier than later. I'm usually kind of sleepy when I do it at my usual time, but we lucked out. Yeah, I've been on my Zelda kick recently, so what other music was I gonna pick? So yeah, we got another cozy reaction. This time to I don't know if this is the last chapter of the year. I actually think that there might be one more. Just because of the way break weeks typically work. Usually right before a holiday jump leaks. But we'll see, we'll see. 3 a.m. for you, Jesus. Yeah, no, I used to have like a thing, like a an appointment on Fridays, so that's why I couldn't do it earlier, but for now I'm off, so I can do it early. So I think I'm going to just jump right in. I don't have much housekeeping, and yeah, just going to be another cozy, fun little thing, so we can discuss the chapter, break it down, and see how we feel. First thing I want to talk about is this cover for Jump because it's awesome. It's like a stained glass window. Luffy front and center. The other characters seem to be much more in their usual art style, whereas the the featured stories seem to be a bit more stylized. Although no, maybe that's not true because Itchy the Witch and no, actually no, I think everything in the mural is actually featured. Jump also has the logo is also got this. I don't know what to call this. I'm actually not very familiar. I'm not a artistic design person, but it's kind of interesting to see what other series are being pushed in Jump again. Because so much has ended recently, or has been moved to different magazines. So yeah, I mean, Itchy the Witch and um Sakamoto Days are definitely series which I want to check out. I don't know. I at the moment I'm only reading One Piece and Jump, so I'm not very cultured at everything else that's surrounding it at the moment. But I think it is important to look at the up and comers. Mosaic? Yeah, that's probably it. Oh wait, is Jujutsu Kaisen there? Which one's JJK? Legit, I couldn't pick out the JJ characters from a friggin' hole in the wall. If they're in a lineup, I couldn't pick them out. I'm sorry. Yeah, I kind of wonder what One Piece ending will do to Jump's sales. Jump has never actually recovered sales wise from when Dragon Ball finished. They've never reached those peaks again. Literally never. If you go and look at their serialization numbers and how many printings they had, it's kind of mind boggling. But, I'm kind of wondering if that will, like, double down after One Piece ends. Anyway, let's just jump right into it. We've got promotions for the One Piece card game at the top right. I don't know if any of you guys have checked that out. It's usually pretty cool. Yo, no author's notes? These translators are slacking, man. How lame. Thankfully, I've got my own sources that tell me that this translator note is Oda basically saying that he likes to keep up with the live action cast via WhatsApp, and he's expressing shock that the rest of the world doesn't use Line. I forget that it's actually called Line because so many anime and manga have the character speaking on Rhine with an R. I forget that that's just done to avoid, getting sued. And we've got one of the best color spreads we've had in a while here. The Rocks Pirates. This seems incredibly similar to a Straw Hat one. Let me see if I can find it actually. One Piece color spread. It's the one with a tiger. It's not this one, is it? It's very similar. Does anyone know which color spread I'm talking about? Was that a tiger? Maybe I'm thinking of this one where they're all like sitting on a couch. Although Luffy's pose was much closer to Rocks in my memory. Damn, I should have looked this up. I feel like the second I go off stream, someone's gonna message it to me and I'm gonna be like, God damn it. Film Gold promo, ooh. Every time I type the letter P, it makes my character bring out a PSP. So weird. Oh, jeez. Okay. No, the Film Gold one's quite different. A film one does seem familiar, though. This exact pose, I feel like I've seen it before. No, it's quite different from here, too. This is going to torment me, but I don't want to look for like 100. I mean, yeah, okay, I'm just gonna go straight into it. Why not? If it comes to me, or if someone messages me and tells me, I will I'll mention it. But this definitely is super reminiscent of Straw Hat. Maybe it's Strong World. Dang, no, it's a very similar drip, because, well, maybe I'm just thinking back because of Shiki. I think the closest we're gonna get is this one in Vulture 7, and this was the kind of era I was thinking of, with all of them on the couch like this. By the way, according to Oda, it is officially romanized as Mugiwara Pirates, so expect the wiki to change that any day now. You heard it here first. And so we're going to be using Mugiwara for the rest of the entire history of this channel. Oh, you mixed up Strong World and Gold? I mean, honestly, I think Gold's a better film, but to each their own. Anyway, let's take a look at the color spread and get right into this. We've got Kaido being a boss, just flipping off the crowd. He's not even looking in our direction. That's how much spite he's got for this group picture. Big Mom is eating a cake again, looking to the. You see, I actually think that each of the future Yonko are the ones who are looking away, because you've got Whitebeard looking to the left, Kaido looking to the left. Big Mom's looking to the right, actually. Man, I kind of want to make a looking east kind of joke, but there doesn't seem to be any correlation at where they're looking and why. Is there anything super interesting here? Shiki is shown flying, which is something Oda doesn't really. Oda's on the record saying that he hates flying characters, so he tries not to include it in the manga. So it's kind of notable, I guess. Okay. Do you think challenge? We can name everyone here. We've got Rocks. I have no idea if he actually has a tiger. Big Mom, obviously Newgate, Stussy the First, Shiki, Kaido. I assume far right is Silver Axe. Long Ton Caribou guy is Ochoko. I can't remember who the I know we had his nickname as like he's the fixer or he's the hitman, but I forgot his name. the mafioso guy who Ochoko is holding on to. Obviously Streusen in the bottom right, Gloriosa above him. I can't for the life of me tell you which one of these guys is which. For the two big guys. Honestly, I don't remember. Please collab with Nate again? Of course I will. I'll message him. Maybe sometime in the new year we can react to a chapter together. That would be fun. Don Marlon, yes, because Marlon Brando, yes, because Oda loves his Godfather references. Um, who else have we got? Who? I assume that's Guangxi on the far left then, but I don't recognize him out of his armor. Anywho, the boys. Like, I kind of wish that this cover spread was before God Valley, just for the hype. But man, this is super cool. I kind of want more spreads like this for different crews. Anywho, let's get right into this. 14 years ago, Gyaban's house, Realm of the Sun, Elbaf, just before the fateful massacre. What? Captain Roger has a son? Worst kept secret ever, by the way. Seems like it. Garp told me about him the last time we crossed paths. So we've got a off-screen meeting between Garp and Gyaban, and I want to know where this took place and why. And why Garp wouldn't try and arrest Gyaban. I mean, I guess Garp is no longer into chasing Marines as you see, actually, I don't know about this because like Garp was like, "Oh, where's Roger? I'll drop everything." Right up until like the year he called him, like even after God Valley, right? Like during like Chapter 0, we see like Garp drop everything to go and chase Roger, and refusing an admiral promotion. So I feel like Garp was still on that pirate hunting kick even after he learned the truth of well, the world government harboring a friggin' god monster. So I'm actually kind of surprised that they could have met. Okay, now I'm gonna get into power scaling territory, aren't I? I'm assuming Garp is bound to be stronger than Gyaban, though. You think Blackbeard knew Ochoko betrayed his father? Yo, that's a great point. I haven't thought of that. If him overthrowing him was like quasi revenge. I actually don't think so. I think he would be too young. He probably knew that they were on a crew together. I would assume that Blackbeard sees Pirate Island as his birthright because his father set it up. So if it wasn't about getting revenge, maybe he just assumed, yo, this is my, like, what are you doing squatting in my island, bro? Get out of here. Okay, so the kid's done well to stay out of the Navy's clutches. Wow, so I basically have a little brother out there. True, you and Buggy were always like our sons. Who knows? With Captain Rogers' blood flowing through him, the kid might just become the Pirate King of this new era. So it's interesting. Shanks literally has never been shown to have any ambition to be Pirate King. Um, we saw 24 years ago. He has an argument with Buggy. Um, Shanks recollects it when he's fighting Whitebeard. Um, and not fight well right before he fights Whitebeard. Um, actually, no way. I'm actually thinking of that was retconned. It was retconned in early Egghead. That's when it was revealed that the real reason they fell out was because Shanks wasn't going for One Piece or being Pirate King, and Buggy felt like that was a bit of a slap in the face because Shanks was always the golden child, and for him to like turn down that thing, that privilege, that being the most loved child, Buggy kind of found that insulting, I guess. I think if Shanks wanted it, Buggy would never have left him. But anyway, like I thought that Shanks's mindset might have changed when he got scarred, but no. Even now, he's still like, oh, someone else will probably be Pirate King. I can't wait for that. Ochoku has green hair now from the color spread. Karibu has green hair, and Karibu has the same tongue. Definitely his kid and Blackbeard. Yeah, I mean that's a great point. Let me scroll back to that. You see, I didn't actually focus too much on his hair. It's kind of hard to make out because it almost looks a bit teal. But it almost looks bluish teal to me. But I guess from his suit, we can infer that it's probably light green, similar to Zoro. Um, Jeez, that's a great point. Although, does Karibu have green hair? I always remembered him having um the heck is that? I always remembered him having black hair, yeah. But green eyes. I think he has a green motif though. I think you might be onto something. Like when he's thinking in the anime, I think his like hair is highlighted green or something. I could definitely see them being related, you know. Although maybe not, because Karibu is a big like fan for Blackbeard specifically. You would think that or maybe that's why he's a big fan of Blackbeard, because he displaced his father who was abusive or something. Yo, the lore is getting so deep now. I don't know. I don't know. It would be cool if it was true. But then again, aren't too many people related now in One Piece anyway? Like everyone knows someone. Everyone's a nepo baby. I kind of, I kind of don't want it to be true, but it's such a minor character that it like the novelty might outweigh my exasperation for how many characters are related. Anyway, you know the title's not hereditary, right? Besides, most burdened with high expectations fail to reach the top. Is that so? I think things are more interesting that way, though. Wahahaha. Thunk. I actually don't know what that thunk is from. Is that him jumping off the tree? I think it is. What is in Gyaban's hand? Has anyone been able to identify that? Oh, I think it's booze. Yeah, it's a bottle. Man, I want to see Gyaban's eyes really badly. Him and Doflamingo need to like him and Dofi should fight, and then the loser takes off their sunglasses. Yeah, I think Leap would probably be better or something. Or it could be that that's Gaban popping the champagne cork. But I doubt it. If it is, that's terrible paneling by Oda. So, 14 years ago, this is a year after the last time we saw Shanks, when he was being a God's Knight. Or actually a God Steel devotee. Now, for those of you who don't remember the timeline on this, because I feel like I have to explain this every week. Shanks has already had a crew for 9 years at this point. He started his crew 22 years ago. Ignore my math. He started his crew 22 years ago. Then we saw him as a devotee 15 years ago, and now it's 14 years ago. So it seems to be that he just spent 1 year as a devotee and he temporarily disbanded his crew or sent them away somewhere. If you believe Uta is canon, then he also abandoned his daughter for 1 year when he only had her for like 9 years or something, which is pretty funny. Um, but yeah, I mean, I wonder why he had to spend that 1 year in Mary and like what caused him to be like, okay, 1 year was enough, let's move on. Like, he wasn't stacking his CV or something. Like, this wasn't for the resume. He didn't need to do this. So I feel like he does go into like some interesting information that he learned about the enemy here, but I don't know if that's worth wasting a year of his life infiltrating unless he had a more like I'm just wondering if he has a more specific reason. They'll all be like Django's eyes. Yeah, probably. We loop back to the start of the flashback. Yeah, yeah. If you see my thumbnail, let me show off my thumbnail. I made the thumbnail right before starting the stream. How do I mute this crap? Yeah. So that was all the setup. Could you imagine? We just cut to Harrigan being like, "Bro, 3 minutes is up. I'm taking your head." But to be honest, I don't know if his story would make any sense without, first illustrating how stupid Harold really is. Man, it feels like so long has passed since the beginning of this flashback. I forgot that Shanks and Giban were already there. Anyway, chapter. I don't know if I read the title, but I have to die now. Um, I don't have too much to say about this title. There's some titles which Oda does which are really clever, and there's some titles where they're just a quote from the chapter. So I don't really have much analysis there. The 3 minutes explains why time moves so slowly in One Piece. Yo, Toei are actually goated then, because they've been adapting One Piece accurately. Because that's how long a minute takes in One Piece. It's like Dragon Ball with the Namek blowing up, isn't it? Title mirrors the other titles too. Which titles, Dex? I mean, I'm only thinking of Robin's "I Want to Live" one, and I don't even know if that's the title of that chapter. There was the "I Can't Even Die" one, and the Luffy's one, "I Won't Die." Interesting. I'm gonna have to look that up. I also want to look up what the Japanese was. It'd be cool if they're all like riffs of the same line. Also, it'd be cool if they're all like related number wise. I know a lot of fans think that Oda plans things like big things to happen on like every 100th chapter, and I don't think that's true. I think he likes to try and keep arcs to around 100 chapters, but I don't know if he will like go out of his way to sabotage or speed up or slow down something just for the sake of hitting the 100 mark. That could just be me being wrong, though. I'd need to look at all the chapter 100 anniversaries and try and work it out. Meanwhile, Oest Castle Elbaf. So, fun fact in Japanese, this was like the fateful castle, the fateful Oest Castle Elbaf, but I don't think it's necessary to state that, just because it's weird to be like, meanwhile, at the fateful West Castle in Elbaf. I just, it pisses me off, right? I'm gonna go on a bit of a tangent, but it pisses me off whenever Oda does a info box cutting to the same country and it says the country again. So like we're in Wano and we're in Ringo and it's like Ringo Wano and then it's like flower capital Wano. And it's like, yeah, what other flower capital is there, Oda? Like, if it's the first time in a chapter, I think it's fine. But if we're not changing locations, we don't need to restate it's Elbaf every time. But he does it, and I just don't get it. Like, it's like In arcs where we're cutting around the world, like in Egghead during the speech, fine. But when we have been like in one location for so long, I just don't get the need to constantly reestablish it. It takes me off. Like if I was Oda's editor, I would like be like stop, stop. But I'm not. Dogagagaga. Well, it's Loki. I mean Prince Loki. He's returned. Elder Ja Rule just arrived too. So it's a cool view of the castle from the front. Actually, I don't think we've seen these two arches that approach it. Foyer of the audience chamber. Your Majesty, why did you do that? He he was just chaining you as ordered. Why did I cut down that soldier? What am I? My body, it's moving on its own. Is it because of those orders? I'm simply forced to snuff out anyone in my way? And we get the quote from Emu last chapter about mobilizing warriors. I mean, this is very different from Harold's possession, because Harold seemed to be conscious for the entire time, but just couldn't control his thoughts. But this, I don't know if actually, no, I do know. Harold is weak. His mind is weak compared to Rock's. I'm saying it. I'm not power scaling them, I'm mind scaling them, because I feel like Rock's never lost like his sense of self or lost time, right? Like he didn't like forget where he was or what he just did. But Harold literally is like waking up and he's like, oh, I stabbed that soldier? Why did I do that? Does he think so little of his 12-year-old readers? My god. Yo, when I was 12, the last thing I wanted was to be condescended to, you know? Whenever I sense that, I'm like, I'm finding another cartoon to watch, damn it. I want to watch fun stuff, but I don't want to be talked down to. You're still in that transitionary period, right? Um. Okay. Could it really be impossible to disobey? Is it messing with my thoughts too? And we get a nice close in on the mark. We talked about the mark last time about how they could be horns or something. And it's ironic that he got rid of one set of horns to be burdened with another. Will this last forever? Then the country will suffer as long as I live. This body of mine is a walking hazard. It'll be for nothing. It'll all be for nothing. The last 144 years of my life. That's kind of depressing, but Harold. I had the Harold rant last chapter, but it is just like I feel very like I don't feel no sympathy for him, but I am frustrated. I'm frustrated. It's like seeing an alcoholic or something. Like you were told all the consequences, and you keep going back to the well. And now that you've realized, oh crap, everyone was right. I have to die now. You men, kill me now. As if I'd ever let Elbaf be enslaved. Hurry, before I'm completely taken over. Your Majesty, what are you saying? Old man, I'm back! And then everyone is stabbing Harold. Which, they didn't hesitate for very long, did they? It's like, kill the king? That's all I needed to hear. Sign me up. I'm always down for a bit of regicide. I shouldn't probably say that because I'm in a country with a king right now. The feed cuts off. um, I'm still curious what devil fruit power can bypass immortality. That's a good point. We'll get more into it when we get to that part of the chapter, okay? What the hell are you doing, Harold? It can't be. I'm really immortal? I'm regenerating. Uh, I always think of Doctor Who when I hear regenerating. Imagine Harold like pops up and like explodes in light and he's replaced by a different actor. Like David Tennant or something. Stop this. All of you run. It's interesting that the abyss pentagram is still visible. Actually, I actually thought that when it was conjured, it's only visible when it's in use. But now that I think about it, it was already there when Gunko and Shamrock got there. So I don't know why I thought that. The it makes me think that maybe the Gorosei one is completely different because that did appear out of nowhere, like in the middle of the air. I wonder if that's like the Gorosei can like do it like at their location and summon the other Gorosei to them, even if they haven't carved one. But for God's Knights and stuff, they need to have a specific one carved. Now I want to make a Doctor Who cold opening, but it's One Piece. Harold's like, I don't want to go. So Harold swings his sword, and everyone's like, "Whoa! How am I supposed to die now? Someone help me!" I want to complain about something, Oda. Everyone has a unique laugh, right? Everyone's like, "Do ga 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 ga," or "Derashishishi," but no one has a unique scream in One Piece. Everyone's always "Ooh ah!" It's literally always written the same way, and if it's a woman, it's "Kya." I mean, I get it. These are conventions which you're not gonna break, but I do wonder if we can't get some variety there. How am I supposed to die now? Someone help me. Meanwhile, we cut back to Wilhelm screams. Yeah, that'd be funny. We cut back to Shanksu and Gyaban. I'll cut to the chase. Harold and I were both bound by the most shallow pact of the Holy Land to serve the individual they call the Great One. This is just the Shallow Sea Covenant contract, mind you. That's a bit of housekeeping because TCB is transitioning between Covenant and contract. So in a few select places, it's going to use both and slowly transition to just Covenant. I think it's a bit more natural than what Viz has done though with the Holy Knights of God. And then like they're now just the Knights of God. Um, I'm still gonna. I still think using God's Knights is fine as well, but I think it's kind of like sometimes you want to say Pirate King, sometimes you want to say King of the Pirates, depending on the context and the sentence. Um, but I think Holy Knights is actually going to be retired by Viz, which is interesting, I guess. I mean, maybe it won't be completely retired, but I wouldn't be surprised. Holy Knights of God. Yeah, it's just kind of like, super, super duper. Like, it's so redundant. But, I can't really blame Viz because there was no way of knowing if it was one singular god and Emu's, like, existence was known, or if it was multiple gods and they're the gods' knights, like, they belong to all of the celestial dragons, or if they themselves are the gods, or what? Yeah, very hat on a hat. This is why I feel like, but Viz will never do it. But this is why I feel like a definitive version of the series needs to be made with hindsight on all of this stuff because there's so much stuff. Like like what's it called? Four Kids and Viz, they went with Rogue Town because they thought that it was an error. I think they thought that they just misspelled like Rogue. But we know now that it was always meant to be prologue and epilogue. So I think Laugh Tale's another one. I don't know. We talked about Elbaf's spelling last week. Um, there's just so many things in One Piece where you just don't know what it's meant to be until it's too late. I guess that's what happens when you've got such a large spanning series that's taking influence from like not your own country. Four Kids was wild, absolutely. Absolutely. I still remember the like memes of like Arlong being like throw her in the dungeon about Belmere. And then there's also I just wish that they got as far as Brook and tried to explain like his attachment to go and see an iceberg again. An iceberg which Luffy punched into oblivion, by the way. Like I want to see a parody version of the Rumbar Pirates flashback where they're hanging out with an iceberg and stuff. Mosa, yeah, Mosa's interesting, but honestly, Mosa doesn't like For me, it's like with nicknames. I feel like there's no way you can know, and just explaining it out. I mean, I would probably change it in retrospect, but that doesn't bother me as much as other things. I think Viz falls victim to this quite a lot because they did the mother frame, mother flame thing, and they translated out Nekomamushi and Inuarashi because I think they assumed that they are going to be titles and not their real names. Um, in terms of, I think I would change Mosa now that you mention it, but I mean, I guess I want to see the absolute confirmation that it's Shirahoshi first. um, yeah, it meant we could only talk more plainly when we were away from the Holy Land. I knew it. You're from the red-haired pirates, aren't you? So I take it that Harold never met Roger. I kind of wonder if Gyaban is like the only Roger pirate who made it to Elbaf. And if he is, how did he tell Shanks, yo, you can find me here. This is my mailing address. If you want to send me Christmas cards, send them to Elbaf from now on. Do you think the silhouettes we saw at the end of Thriller Bark were giants? Let me think. Probably not. I couldn't tell you what they are because we see the frozen giants in Punk Hazard, if I'm correct. And I don't know if that's the Galila giants or not. I can't see. You see, I feel like the only reason why the in fact, no, I don't think so because people are still going missing in the Florian Triangle, even back here, and this would be before the government has any agreement with any giants, outside of the ones in the Marines. And I think Oda only brought up the Florian Triangle a couple of chapters ago, so he reminds us about it because it's been 20 years. And it's just I haven't forgotten about this plot point. I'll circle back to it, kind of thing. But the fact that people were going missing even in this era, like before giants were like seen in most of the Grand Line, I think that it's just something different. Personally, I'm on the train that Emu's true body's in the Florian Triangle, and they might have been his race or something. Interesting, but like Emu, we've seen Emu is quite small relative. So like if this avatar body is like projected smaller, I don't know. I feel like Emu not actually being at Marijoa is weird. I don't know. I'm kind of leaning more towards like it's ancient weapon related or like it's related to one of the gods or something like that. Honestly, with so much more different, like the context of that has changed so much since it was first revealed. Anyway, let's get back to Exposition City. Um, I can't believe that Shanks and Harold met up outside. Like, why didn't Shanks explain all this crap to Harold in this flashback here, where they meet up outside, right? Why didn't he? Why wasn't he like, or was he? Is this just for Gavan's benefit? Where he's like, yeah, I tried to tell that idiot Harold that he'll be a complete slave, right? And now I'm just whining about it to you. Because there's no reason why Shanks wouldn't have told Harold here when they were away for many prying years. Unless he didn't know, and he only learned about this towards the end. Like, maybe that's why he dipped. Maybe he didn't realize all of the cons that come with having a deeper sea contract until they're like, Shanks, tomorrow is the day of your graduation. This is what's gonna happen. And he's like, sorry, what? And then he bails. Maybe that's what happened. But otherwise, like, if he didn't mention it, Shanks is an idiot. And if he did mention it, Harold's even more of an idiot. Anyway, Harold would probably be happy to join the Knights of God if it helped Elbaf's membership bid. But if he agrees, he'd enter into an even deeper covenant. Is that a problem? The covenant of a full knight blesses them with inhuman strength and immortality. They can also conjure abyss pentagrams, enabling traversal across vast distances. In exchange, the Great One's voice can reach them anywhere, so disobedience becomes totally impossible, even if you're far away. Harold would be fully under their thumb if he enters into that deeper covenant. Those guys have a boundless appetite for greed. I can't see them just honoring their word. I really don't think Harold should join. And then we've got the ginormous hockey spike. What the? And we never get to hear the end of that sentence, but we know what happened. If Shanks came here to warn Harold, I mean, it's already too late. Do you think Shanks came here to warn Harold, or like I would need to go back to the beginning of this flashback because I can't remember if Shanks said he had business with Harold or not. All of this could have been like avoided if he like rang Harold after running out on the God's Knights himself, or left him a letter or something, or told him here, or I just have to believe that Shanks only learnt about it immediately prior to dipping from the devotees. Otherwise, none of this makes sense. Okay, let's go to father versus son mania. Knock it off, old man. What the hell is going on here? How are you even breathing with all those stab wounds? Why are you trying to kill us? And where's all this strength coming from? What happened to you, Harold? Come back to your senses. All guards, report to the throne room. He's gone mad. The king. We have to stop him. Did a fight break out? I bet it's Loki up to no good again. Hurry! We must aid our king. They were literally just shouted at that, the king's gone mad, but they like in one ear, out the other. Why haven't Shanks and Dragon joined forces since they both will take on God's Knights, but whatever. I mean, I guess maybe it's a matter of motivation. Like, maybe Shanks isn't in it to, Actually, I don't know. It's a good question. Maybe it's a question of method. Like, Dragon thinks that you can beat the world government, but Shanks knows you can't without One Piece. So the difference in their knowledge is affecting how they conduct their resistances. Or maybe Shanks really is a triple agent and he's secretly wearing the cravat under the shirt. Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy how Loki and Harold tower over the rest of these giants, by the way. Shanks wants the One Piece, but Dragon doesn't, is my guess. I mean, I think, like we said at the beginning of this, like, Shanks has no ambition to be king of the pirates. He's like, oh, maybe it can be Ace here. I think Shanks wants to see the One Piece used. I don't know if he actually wants to go and get it. Like, I know he says at the end of Wano, but I don't know if he's like saying we are going to go and get it, or like, it's time for the One Piece to go and be gotten, and we're going to be a part of that. I kind of see him as like the guardian of One Piece in a way. Like he is vetting, making sure that whoever gets to One Piece is someone who can fulfill, all the hopes that everyone has about it. But he knows it's not going to be him for whatever reason. By the way, that ginormous pie is hilarious. It's the size of Shanks. Oh, also, I've Colin and friggin' Ripley are here. It's so weird to think that Colin is like Colin's older than Bonnie for sure. How old is Colin right now? Colin's 28 or something now, if I remember right. So he's older than Luffy, I think. Can you imagine being a baby for like 5 years? I'm sad Shanks sacrificing his arm was lessened by the recent chapters. I went on a rant about this 2 weeks ago. Um, Now I will accept it if it was like a bonus. So like, he lost the arm, but he's not that broken up about it because he saved Luffy and that gets rid of one of his big problems. Because he keeps the arm like, for another 2 years. And I don't think there was anything pressing going on around that time that he needed to ditch the arm then. Like it wasn't like the emu was tracking him down, right? And like unless we get word that like Shamrock was constantly like GPS tracking him through the arm or something, it seems to me that the shallow sea contract only has the drawback when you're in Emu's presence directly. So I think Shanks was actually chill about keeping the arm as long as he doesn't encounter Emu. So I think that him losing the arm was kind of a bonus. Like it was a strength nerf, but it was also like I saved this kid who I really care about, and now if I ever have to directly interact, I won't be compromised. I like to think that it was spur of the moment. Still, I'm trying to hold on. This is maximum copium, but I'm trying to hold on to that possibility. Because while I think it's cool in retrospect that there was a added you know layer to the arm thing, I don't want it to change Shanks's intention towards Luffy. Or like I don't want it to change the message of chapter 1 about what a real scar is and, how you earn a real scar. Um Crazy Nami and Colon are the same age. No, Nami is younger. Nami's definitely younger. Nami's 20 exactly. Colon is 20 something as far as I know. Let me look this up. Oh wait, they are the same age, 20. He is nice, cool. I thought he was like 26 or something. This is his hair color in the anime? Where did he get that hair color from? Is Ripley's hair color this color? Has Ripley been in any cover? Do we know Ripley's official color? That damn sure isn't Gaban's hair color, I'll tell you that much. But Gibeon aged so hard between. Is it the stress of fatherhood? Is that the difference between Rayleigh and Gaban? I feel like Rayleigh aged like a Chad and like Gavan aged terribly. Look at him here. Although, actually, look at him in friggin' chapter 3 or something. Like, where is it? Would it be like chapter 15? Let's try chapter 17. Chapter 8? 19. Yes, it's chapter 19. Um, yeah, Beta Giban is hilarious. Where is he? There he is! Let me mute this. Look at him. That is peak. The Mountain Eater himself, the legend, husband of Ripley, the Pirate King's left hand. Oh my god, what an upgrade the axe he gets later is. Look how budget this axe is. I think I could make a better axe. Visa, what's your opinion on One Piece becoming seasonal next year? I'm very thrilled. I worked on like abridging the One Piece anime for like half my adult life. So I think even if they only stick to one chapter an episode, they'll be able to be a bit more deliberate about, like, hopefully they don't squander it, but like seasonal Toei is actually really like awesome. I don't know if you've ever watched the anime World Trigger, but World Trigger had a run for its first season of like 100 and something episodes. And they had so much filler and so much drawn out canon material that and so much terrible animation that it completely like just killed the series flat. And the series had to end before they could even adapt like the next arc. But then season 2 and 3 of World Trigger went seasonal, and all of a sudden it's like the best animated series, no filler, and like they I don't know if they always did 2 chapters, maybe sometimes they did less or more, but like the pacing was really good, and the production value and designs and just direction were like 5 times better. And like it's gotten to the point where they actually announced recently that World Trigger's getting a remake of season 1. And World Trigger isn't that old. Like we're talking about a 2015 anime here, right? Like this is not that old, but like because they know they could have done a much better job, Toei's redoing it. So I'm thrilled about it. Even if they stick to just one chapter, I think that it will, because these chapters are so packed in one in Elbaf and Egghead. Like there's so many scenes and so much stuff I wish Oda actually did expand on. That I think that any filler that could be there could actually be good if they even if they kept it to one chapter. Um, and if they occasionally go above it, I mean, like basically, I'm optimistic about it. I think that if they stick the landing, it eliminates any need for fans to be involved, and I think that's probably the best thing, because as good as some fan projects are and as bad as some fan projects are, at the end of the day, when we're talking about accessibility, um, most people can only see what's on Netflix or Crunchyroll, right? So ideally, whatever is easily accessible should be already, you know, actually accessible to people and shouldn't feel like a chore to get through. And I think the One Piece anime for the longest time has just been a advertisement for the manga. But now they're kind of realizing the power that these adaptations, the live action and the anime, have as part of the brand. So I think they're getting more serious with One Piece and the production of Toei anime and obviously the live action, because that's how you actually reach more people. For the longest time, One Piece was definitely manga first, and it obviously always will be. But like, I feel like everything else was a lower priority. But that's changed big time. And the next thing I want to see them do is actually make a really good video game. I think One Piece has a massive potential as a great video game series. Like no, maybe not series, but like a great one-off video game. And I don't think that I think they're sitting on a gold mine. But one step at a time. We read this page. Okay. Explain yourself, Harold. What happened? Huff, huff. Elder Jar Rule. What I've done is unforgivable. My sanity is slipping beyond my control. Please listen to me, Loki. Tell the people of Elbaf what happened here. Tell them about the guards I slayed. Let it be known. Far. Should that be slayed or slew? It could be slew. Maybe it should be slew. I hate reading things back. Let it be known that I've repeatedly stained my hands trying to make Elbaf a member nation. I think when he says this, he's actually talking about prior crimes, like, taking down pirates and stuff for the world government. Letting people die who he shouldn't have. Turning a blind eye to stuff. I actually think that that's more than just the guards part. Yeah. I think it can be either, to be honest, but, like, I kind of want to, like, my brain is always the opposite of what I thought yesterday. Spread the word about how I was tricked and ended up in this miserable state. They wanted me to enslave our people as warriors of the government. What do you mean you were tricked? Why is Loki surprised? His father's friggin' dumb as anything. They never intended to honor the terms from the very start. Like, no, of course they didn't. Everyone told you this. Rox told you this. I think Ida would have told you this if you listened. He's just the most naive king. Like, Cobra, right? Walked in there eyes wide open. He knew exactly how scummy the world government was. And he's like, yeah, this is probably going to cost me my life. I might as well throw this out there, though. Like, but Harold, it's legitimately come as a surprise. Like, Cobra was shocked by the extent of their darkness and, like, their secrets and how they've rewritten the world. Harold is just shocked at basic, like, being taken advantage of, like, if Harold were to, like, he's the kind of person who will fall for, like, a Discord, click on this link and you'll get $1 million, and then his account gets hacked and he's like, what is this? This is not the terms I was promised. Like, my god, bro. He's the kind of guy who actually would fall for those, like, Kohler scams. Being like, were you in a car accident this year? He's like, actually, I was. But at the same time, it's got that same level of tragedy, right? Because when you see an old person fall for a really stupid scam and lose their pension and life savings, you feel bad for them. So while I will maintain that Harold is the biggest dumbass of all time, and he's completely upstaged in his own flashback by Rox and Loki, I feel sorry for him. I genuinely do feel sorry for him. This is a guy. I actually, I would love to ask Oda if he's intentionally writing Harold to be like a dumb, soft, like, gentle giant kind of character, and if, like, his naivety is part of, like, is intentional, because, like, if we go back to the beginning of this flashback, right? He's like, what the hell is this? This is not the TCB website. What is this? Did someone grab the old URL? Legit, what is this? Does anyone have the actual website? Oh, maybe I'll just go to Weeb Central. Seriously, what is this crap? I think someone grabbed the old URL for TCB. It doesn't matter. I'll just use Viz because it doesn't affect my point here. Floki, it's a bit earlier. Yeah, who's your god now? So he like starts out as like a real us, and he like he doesn't consider that Man, there's actually quite a lot of subtext to this early stuff here. I'll talk about it in a second, but he's like kind of like, what? I was just born big? You mean I don't? Is that so? And he like takes it so to heart, just like this like, basic lesson on empathy. So I kind of wonder if that's the point of Harold's character, if he's just meant to be like kind of a dumb, naive idiot. Um but going back to this, there is a lot to talk about because like, we have this whole setup where like a giant was, in a cage, an ancient giant in a cage, and she's like play acting, jumping through hoops for humans, but she wanted to do it. But like, that was mutually beneficial. And like in the end, Harold ends up doing the same thing. He's a giant in a cage serving humans, but it's not mutually beneficial. Like it just kind of seems to me like he's trying to do what Ida did, but like like he just misread the character of the people. Like this circus tamer, maybe he's like projecting because the humans did help them when they were starving. I'm gonna get into a whole tangent about this. it, it's kind of funny, but whatever. Does anyone have any thoughts on Harold's character? Because I wonder if I'm just coping with this or if it was intentional that he's just this idiot. Elder Jarul, Loki must be one of. Sorry. Elder Jarul, Loki must be the one to eat Elbaf's secret treasure. Please see to it. What? No one else can beat me with these godly powers. It was never my dream to see Elbaf subjugated by the government. I'm the worst king in Elbaf in the history of Elbaf. So do I. Like I'm laughing when I read it, but I do feel bad for him. You must kill me and take the throne, Loki. Let Elbaf know what a disgrace of a king I was. Kill me and elevate yourself as a hero. I don't get this. I don't get why killing him and smearing him and saying he sucked, like, just for the political, like, clout of Loki. Like, maybe, like, couldn't Elder Jarul just be like, yeah, Harold, your lost beloved king, has decreed that Loki should be king, and Loki's turned around and turned over a new leaf and is a responsible young man now. And let's go from there. Like I suppose they would have to explain away the deaths of the giants, but blame it on the Gods Knights. I feel like a lie is better here than anything else. But I feel like someone had to take like what Oda's trying to set up is that someone had to take the blame here, and and like it just reminds me of the ending of the Dark Knight. I obviously won't play for copyright reasons, but like I killed those men. I can be something. In fact, that's what Loki's gonna do at the end. He's like, I killed those guards. Jarl's like, no, you didn't. You're not that person. And he's like, I can be. I'm whatever Elbaf needs. I'm the hero Elbaf needs, but not the one it deserves. I kind of want to change the thumbnail to Loki as Batman. Maybe I'll do that next week. But it seems to be like that's what ends up happening, that Ja Rule and Loki end up agreeing to sacrifice Loki for Harold's reputation, but I don't know why. Like, why not just, you know, honor his wishes and not his reputation? He's literally saying, I don't care about how I'm remembered. That's not important. The only thing that matters is securing Elbaf's future, don't you see? And I think Harold's saying that because, like, it's important that, you know, it's less important for him to be remembered as a good person than it is to get the word out there that the world government sucks. But I feel like they could do both. I feel like Ja Rule, who is the elder who everyone loves and listens to, can explain what happened to Harold and how tragic it is and how he handpicked Loki. And Loki doesn't need to come out with this story about how Harold was tricked and how he killed Harold and became a hero. Or, like, they didn't even need to say Harold was tricked. They could just say there was an attack from someone, you know? Why didn't Shanks, like, you know, Shanks is here. We see Shanks witnesses all this. Why can't Shanks be the hero which Elbaf deserves? Why can't he go on the run and be like, I killed those men? It was me, like obviously it can't be Gaban because he's got a kid here, but like, I feel like this fifth. I really want to see next chapter. Ja Rule has dementia from the sword. No, could you imagine? He genuinely can't remember if Loki killed him. Oh, I'm gonna complain about that actually. We'll get there in a minute. Anyway, the only thing important is securing Elbaf's future, don't you see? You'd go that far? I'm counting on you, Loki. You're the only one who can make things right. I saw someone saying that this downscales Hardin, but I don't think Hardin is actually a factor here because he's not around. So it's not to say that, you know, Hardin eating the fruit wouldn't be able to kill Harold, but I'm pretty sure that Harold, like, Loki's the stronger brother anyway. We can't show Shanks as evil. Peace out. I feel like Oda constantly flirts with the idea of evil Shanks, though. Actually, I think Shanks volunteering to do that would be showing Shanks as too good from the audience's perspective, so maybe that's why it doesn't happen. Anyway, there's a scream, and Harold is suddenly back on his feet, and a bunch of people get sliced up, and he looks to the side, and I kind of wish we saw him activating a Den Mushi here, because when I was like looking at the rules and stuff, I was just kind of like, so he's just first the rules I saw were completely out of order, so it was super annoying. But like, it's kind of weird that he's like, you know, he's speaking so lucidly and like, you know, because this isn't what happened with this isn't really what happened with Rox. I mean, he had the one line where he said that he had to get rid of everyone in his way and wipe out the bloodline when he was getting possessed. But other than that, Rox was like not very chatty when he was being possessed. But here, like, it's almost like Harold, like with Rox, I had the idea that this was like puppet mind control, where like he is not in control of his actions, but like his brain on the inside is like screaming and can see everything he does. But with Harold, it's completely different. It seems like he's being rewritten. Like it seems like he's being completely brainwashed into being a loyal servant of Emu. And I just wonder if that's got to do with like, you know, their mental state or because Rox is a friggin' D or what. But um there's a criminal roaming the castle. Sire? Seal the chamber doors. Right away, your majesty. What have you done? You're not the King Harold I knew. This guy, right? This guy should have just cut off his head. Or at least hit his brain instead of Shonen monologuing to him. Indeed, that Harold is gone. I am the great Emu's vassal. The great one's vassal. And his neck regenerates. None of you will be allowed to escape. The truth of what happened here will die with you. Everybody run! And he steps on it. It would have been so hardcore if he like stepped on it all the way and it was like friggin' spoilers for Dragon Ball incoming. Yeah, if it was like this with Android 16. That would have been so metal, but like Oda would never. You think every God's Knight is like that? They're all only as scummy because of their contracts, or is it CD nature? Oh my god, what's happened to my picture? There we go. Man, that flirty look was not matching my tone at all. I'm like, oh, Oda sucks. I'm like, but so kawaii. What was I saying? I think that's definitely the case for Gunko, for example, but I don't think that's the case for Shamrock, if that makes sense. I think all of them are slightly. I think to an extent it might play up what's already there. I'm gonna skip ahead to the end of the chapter, but Harold says here, "Hey Shanks, this immortality thing isn't bad. I truly feel superior now." I think that's echoing back to this crap, where he feels like, being bigger doesn't make me better? What? I thought I had a natural right because I was big, Like this. I think it's reawakening this part of him. The part of him that was might makes right, blah, blah, blah. But it's like twisting it even darker. I think that that's what's happening with Gunko, and I don't know about the others because they were already celestial dragons and spoiled from birth. Gunko, we've got at least some indication that she had a more positive role model before. So I feel like she could be exercised to an extent. But I don't want to get too deep into the speculation weeds about what her origins are right now. But that is a very good question, Dex. Yaban, is that you? Oh wait, sorry. I missed the page. I shall deliver this country into the hands of Lord Emu. So Emu has hands confirmed. No, kidding. Loki, hurry. Damn it. Why do I have to eat this devil fruit? Doesn't that mean giving up the ability to ever swim? Fun fact, okay? When I was looking at this line before, I was like, should this be I will lose the ability to swim, or I will never be able to swim, or I will give up the ability to ever swim? And I like looked at like every variation possible of phrasing this before I eventually agreed with this line because I feel like we see Loki trying to sail away from Elbaf a few chapters ago and he ends up capsizing and almost drowning. So I think it's pretty likely that he can't swim anyway and he's just whining that he'll never be able to swim. But like we don't have confirmation either way if he can swim yet. So this line has to be like this is the kind of line that annoys you, right? Gnome, let's see what Gnome's saying. Emu even said that he was a pliable ruler and someone like that would never come along again. So it seems like he is supposed to be naive and easy to sway. Yeah, but that's a villain, right? We like are we meant to be agreeing with Emu here? Like, so often like, Doflamingo is like, "Oh, Riku, you naive fool." Are we meant to be agreeing though? you know? Usually we're not. Usually that virtue the naivety isn't really naivety, it's just, being honorable, like with Odin, right? Like I think Odin kind of like he was kind of taken for a fool, but he was also I feel like even if he knew what was happening, his honor would have like, kept him to his path. Whereas with with Harold, I just think we're meant to think he's dumb. Um at Dexter, I think they are. It seems like they get corrupted with wanting power and then Emu corrupts them. It's a very devilish thing to do, honestly. I maybe, but I feel like, Summers and Shamrock at the very least were raised to be like that because they're not that different from other world nobles. Well, if no other king of Elbaf could be swayed like Harold, um, could, then I might think that that might be the case for Harold. Yeah, okay, that's fair. Maybe the unique circumstance is that it's Elbaf though, so because they've got a warrior's culture, it's not like the Dressrosa where they've had centuries of peace. So Harold is an outlier, not just in his naivety, but his anti-war stance. Might not be the first king Emu tried to sway. Honestly, I don't get why Emu didn't, Doflamingo shows up and he's like, I guess, like, I don't know why he wouldn't want to make, like, someone like Doflamingo a God's Knight or something, you know? Like, he could still be a warlord, but can't you be both? Because Doflamingo definitely had some dealings with, if not Emu directly, high up world nobles like the Garze, and I feel like, yeah, I actually don't know why they wouldn't want Dofi like that. I actually maybe it's because of the limit of numbers. They're like there's only 13 or was it 13 people who have this ability. Maybe he actually can't hand out more places than there are. Like maybe that's the actual extent of his powers. So if there's no open slot for a Gold Knight, he would have to basically, retract the power from someone. That's interesting. And why is the old man suddenly acting like he's got a totally different personality? You won't be eating that fruit, Loki. It will be mine. You just told me to eat it, remember? You can't eat it, Harold. It would be the end of the world. Hurry, Loki. No matter what happens, we can't let him lay hands on it. End of the world, and it allows you to wield Ragnar, right? Or Ragnarok? Interesting, Oda. Interesting. Elder Jarul, I'm afraid I must return the legendary sword you gave me long ago. I think the Japanese was actually famous sword, but I think legendary's fine. When you talk about sword, you think legendary. Was it famous? I think maybe it was renowned. Anyway, that might be slight license there. I need to eat the fruit and take up Ragnar. I won't let you. Uh, I think that OIs comes from the guards which Harold's running through. But then Slice, and we've got Shanks and Gaban together. No named attack though, so we don't need to do too much power scaling. I remember spoilers were like, "Oh, Gyaban and Shanks were completely jobbed out," and it's like, what? Did you read the chapter? Celebrity swords. Maybe Dofi was too unpredictable too. It doesn't make a difference, Dex, because if he was in a deeper sea contract, like whatever, Emu will just constantly be in his head, like Vince McMahon, and be like, "This is how I want you to do it, pal." And he would have no choice but to obey him. I was thinking it might be Joral's sword, but since Joral's, yeah, it's on his grave, isn't it? Yaban, is that you? Wah, Jarul, what's happened to you? Don't worry, my helmet saved me. Let's talk about the helmet, because I was waiting to see what would happen this entire time. I thought maybe the sword is special, maybe the helmet is special, or maybe the person who did it to him is special in some way. Like maybe Loki eats the phase fruit, and it allows objects to phase through something. But it just seems to me like Harold stabs him in the head. He somehow survives it because he probably had very little brain to begin with, and is crediting his helmet with taking the brunt of it. And I think that's the joke of it. And I think Oda wrote the joke before he, realized he had to write this into a serious scene. So now we're getting the like band-aid of like, oh, it's the sword which Jarul gave to Harold. Which, by the way, is ridiculous because, like, we've seen Harold's entire life. Oda, could you not have done a scene where Jarul is like, "I'm proud of you, Harold. You've. I wasn't sure about this whole stuff about being friendly with the humans, but you've convinced me, and I would like to give you my sword and pledge myself to you, or something." Like, so that this would be a bit more emotional here. Like, I know that's like fan writing or whatever, but I feel like if Oda wanted to sell this scene, he could have done something like that in one panel. Like that in that chapter where they talk about the Galila or something. Like, I feel like their relationship isn't played enough for this to be a tragic moment, and this moment isn't outlandish enough for it to be that funny. So it just kind of is like, okay, so it really was his helmet that saved him, I guess. Maybe the helmet ate the phase fruit. Some people are speculating that's the Helm of Or from Norse lore that saved Ja Rule. Let me see. Helm of Or. The Helm of or Helm of Terror, is an object in Norse mythology relating to the Horde protecting by the what? The Horde protected by the worm Fafnir. Fafnir? And was subsequently the name of the modern Icelandic magical stave. Someone's gonna have to explain this to me. I'm sorry. If you want to talk to me about mythology, I can talk to you about Japanese mythology for days. I can talk to you about ancient Sumerian and Egyptian stuff. I can talk to you about the Roman and Greek pantheons. But my knowledge is nothing. Literally nothing when it comes to stuff like Norse mythology or Beowulf or any of this like Tolkien-esque stuff. I'm sorry. I don't know. This stuff I'm out of my depth on. What's the helmet to do now? It's said to give invincibility. I mean, if that's the case, Harold's like, impossible. I'm actually immortal. There's no way this could be a thing. He's like, how Jarul has just never talked about his helmet that makes him a god. This helmet makes Emu look like, because like Ja Rule doesn't even really get that hurt from the sword, whereas Harold has to take minutes to regenerate. And he actually feels the pain from it, right? I don't even think Ja Rule like regenerates. I don't know. I mean, if it is the helm, then why not just pull the sword out? I don't know. Scandinavia, rise up. The United States of Scandinavia. I kid. I kid. um, sorry, where was I? I need to eat the fruit and take up Ragnar. I won't let you. Oh yes, Gavin. Yes, yes, yes. Please stop Harold. You can't let him catch Loki. Ugh. So like rules were out of order. So when I first looked at this, it's like Gaban and Shanks arrive, cut down Harold, and then we get this scene where they tackle him and talk to him about his motives. So this line about catching Loki made no sense. But my friend Muffin pointed out how how jacked up the order was, and then I finally read it in the right order, and I was like, okay, that makes more sense. Do you think the sword might be a Sword in the Stone reference? I was thinking Usopp might be able to pull it from his head. I mean, I just don't think that that's been set up enough for it to be anything too significant. I mean, we're talking about Excalibur or Caliburn from the Arthurian legends at this point, and I just don't see any of that DNA baked into Elbaf. Really, I don't really see it as a chosen one kind of thing. I also think the sword is way too big for Usopp to hold because it's friggin' Harold size. So while I would love a story like that, I don't think it's gonna happen. No, I think Usopp's just going to be a very passive, observer about how Elbaf reclaims its warrior pride, and it'll touch him, but he won't be too big an active participant, I don't think. Biblo, interesting. I didn't know that that was Arthurian related. Okay. Um, no matter how you slice it, we've landed ourselves in a real pinch. Thanks for the contribution, Gaban. Really, really necessary sentence. Harold, open your eyes. Look at what you're doing. And we read this line earlier. Hey, Shanks, this immortality thing isn't half bad. I truly feel superior now. So I feel like, yeah, definitely this is like, his old superiority complex coming back with a vengeance. Damn it, is there really no way to free him from having to follow these orders? Kachink, huff huff. This is the forbidden devil fruit passed down within Elbaf? And clank clank, we hear the Ragnar starting to wobble, and then zooms towards him like, Mjolnir, and the chapter ends with Loki doing a Neo Matrix dodge at the last second, being like, what is that thing? A surprise attack? Question mark, exclamation mark. And that's the end of the chapter, 1169. Now let's discuss the devil fruit for a second. It's implied that you need to eat the devil fruit in order. Actually, no, okay. First, I want to talk about the Shanks exposition here. Um, the Shanks exposition, I think the only thing to take away is it's nice to have clarification on how this knight stuff works. It seems, we already knew that knights could carve the crests because Harold was ordered to last chapter. I'm not sure if only knights can travel through them. Knights and above, sorry, or if Godsteel can as well. I don't think that will be too relevant for the modern story, but maybe Shanks could have accompanied Shamrock a few times via an Abyss Seal. But it's not clear whether or not the Abyss Seals are just for the knights and above or not. That's the only real talking point I have from this exposition that I didn't mention. But going back to the fruit, I think it's implied that, eating the fruit will allow you to wield Ragnar, at least wield it properly, or have Ragnar obey you. But I'm not certain if that's the case. I'm not certain if like I'm not certain if it's you need the fruit to use Ragnar, or if it's the combination of the fruit and Ragnar that would make it the end of the world. But Oda tends to go for the simpler option. So I'm going to say you need the fruit to properly use Ragnar. So what could the fruit be that allows you to control a magical hammer is the question. Obviously the hammer is probably made of metal. So maybe it's got something to do with metal or earth in general. Being able to control sentient objects. Like, I'm just trying to think, because there's also Ragnar shows lightning capabilities as well. So maybe it's lightning related, or maybe Ragnar is like a guard for the fruit, and only someone who can tame Ragnar is able to claim the fruit. I mean, there's so many options here. I would really like to hear if there's any theories on this, because I haven't had too long to think about it. Ragnar was protecting the fruit, so after Loki eats the fruit, it will protect Loki. That's really good. In which case, maybe it's the will inside the fruit that Ragnar is loyal to. So maybe it's a Zoan, and it has a will of its own, and Ragnar can sense its old master, or something like that. Like maybe it's like a old god fruit. Like the Thor Nomi. Yeah, maybe it is just the Thor fruit. Um the Ningen fruit model Thor. Because we know Thor is a thing because Luffy mentions him a couple of times when doing his attack moves. So maybe Loki eats the Thor fruit and gets lightning powers and takes on the embodiment of Thor. And Ragnar is like an ancient artifact that's loyal to the fruit and whoever eats it. I mean, that would be interesting. I was thinking some jewel fruit stuff. Could be that Mjolnir station where you have to be worthy of it. I think the Galila probably made Ragnar Warhammer band. So they will follow whoever tames Ragnar. Definitely, yeah. I think that's probably definitely the case. Mobilize the warriors. This actually is mobilize the warriors. ... And assemble the nation. So it's actually two phrases. So maybe assemble the warriors is like wake up the Galila, and use them to rally Elbaf together. That is probably it actually. So maybe it comes all part and parcel. Like the Galila will be loyal to whoever's wielding Ragnar, sword in the stone kind of thing. And Ragnar is like an enchanted hammer, just cause. And the fruit itself gives lightning powers. Is that too convoluted? But would the fruit help them find the Galila, or or does Harold even know where the Galila are at the moment? Is that where Loki spends the next few years of his life? That's probably it, actually. Loki eats the fruit, gains the power, kills Harold, but can't obey Harold's wishes because it would be dangerous to outright turn against the world government and provoke an invasion without knowing where the Galila are in order to awaken them and have them defend Elbaf. So they continue to play nice and, they'll blame Loki. And so the government is on constant, wait and see mode with Elbaf to see where they actually sway and whether they can still be swayed or not because they still seem friendly. And in the meanwhile, Loki goes off to try and find the Galila for the next 8 years. But that doesn't explain why Shanks will eventually arrest him and chain him to a tree. And Ja Rule lets it happen. So honestly, it's still like there's still a ginormous question mark here about how this ends up happening. Maybe the Straw Hats will make the connection to the Freezer and Punk Hazard. I doubt it. I really doubt it, because it's not the kind of thing which Oda has reminded us of repeatedly. I think it might be the kind of thing which Vegapunk points out, because Vegapunk obviously used to live there, and he's right there on the island right now. So maybe Vegapunk. And it does make sense for Vegapunk to point it out, because it's like the domino effect, right? Because like it would mean that Egghead had to happen to lead into Elbaf, to lead into to lead into this Ragnarok phase, I would prefer if it was Vegapunk to make the connection. That way. Okay. I mean, obviously, there's still a lot of question marks here. I'm going to reserve complete judgment on this tragedy of Harold and Loki until we see how it plans out. But I am actually feeling good about like Ragnar being loyal to the fruit and the Galila being loyal to the person with Ragnar. Whether or not the fruit has powers beyond just taming Ragnar, we'll see. And whether or not it's, related to some ancient god or not, we'll see. But I think these theories are kind of solid. By the way, I've been playing so much Zelda recently. When I see a chest like that, I'm expecting him to do the friggin' like Link treasure pose. He's like, da 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 da, I got a devil fruit, and hold it up to the camera. But it's probably not the moment because right after that he has to go kill his dad. Anyway, I think we talked through everything. I hope you guys enjoyed the reaction and the breakdown. How did you feel about the chapter? I'm kind of sitting on a 6.5. I think it's a step up from last chapter, which I thought was just a facilitating chapter. I think this chapter actually had some good clarification in there, the Shanks parts. I actually like how we've got some expansion on how Emu's possession works. And I do like some of the hints about what could happen with Ragnar here. But there's so many question marks about like how this helmet thing works, whether or not it's just a joke. Harold's naivety and why Loki has to end up being the villain in all this. And I'm worried that Oda might not stick the landing logically in terms of like, like I want whatever the reason is for Loki to eventually be captured by Shanks and stuff for it to all make sense. And why the secret had to be kept and stuff like that. But at the moment it is very much looking at like a half-finished puzzle, so I don't want to judge it too harshly. But I give 6.5, like, that's not being harsh. Like, 5 is the average chapter for One Piece. I think this is slightly above average for me. But just because I kind of liked some of the character work here. How do you guys feel? Probably early chapter. I think that I think the usually Christmas break there is a chapter leak, but we'll see. It's different. It depends. Yeah, I hope not. I hope for a Christmas break. You'd give it a 7 out of 10? 6 out of 10? Okay. Yeah, you and me are along the same lines, Dex. No, you're thinking about making a video on the topic. Yeah, do it. I would watch it if you linked me. Okie dokie. I think I've talked through this chapter. Honestly, it's a chapter with a lot of dialogue, but like a lot is said, but not much is actually conveyed. But I still really like the action here, and I'm hoping that it sets up to a really satisfying tragedy. For sure, I'll definitely check it. Pretty good, not hacked it to me. You're on the wrong stream. This is not pirate talk. But yeah, if I were to do the go to hack the system, I would say that this is Midda. No, this is probably Goda. But it's still suffering from like some of the after effects of Lost Chapter, which I think was Hackda. um, like I just have to accept that Harold's an idiot. Um, a lot of this, like nothing within the content of this chapter has me too annoyed. Like I kind of object to how Harold ended up in this situation a bit, but now that we're here, it's a very tragic situation to see unfold. And it's pretty exciting to like see how dynamic it is with Shanks and Gaban arriving at the end and Loki being forced to eat the fruit and all that. Like I just want to see how I just want to see how it makes sense with the current picture we have because Shanks and Loki ends up being enemies. Sorry, Nate is rubbing off on me. Yeah, he's a charismatic dude. Okie dokie. Thank you guys so much for watching. I think we're gonna call it a day there. Um, please, if you can, leave a like or share the video. That would mean a lot to me. And I hope to see you guys next week if we have a chapter. And if we don't for a while, I'll definitely see you in the new year. Um, these streams are pretty cozy and small scale, so I try to get through them as breezily as possible. But it's always fun to like talk about what's going on and stuff. So um, yeah, and I am hoping into getting into more video essay kind of content um at the beginning of next year, hopefully. So yeah, definitely, guys. I'll see